When we spend time thinking about how we can't change the world, we forget that the power to change someone's life, especially our own, is always in our hands. To discover authoritative content that has the power to transform. From the library to the classroom, at home, and into the world. Research for everyone. Teaching for everyone. Learning for everyone. Gale, here for everyone.
Hello, I am Masaki Morisawa from the publisher Gale, and today I'm very happy to be sharing with you some of my thoughts on how we can help students nurture important life skills such as critical thinking skills and empathy. And in doing so, I will focus on a rather problematic and current phenomenon known as the echo chamber effect of social media. And while my topic is about education, this is by no means limited to students, but perhaps in light of various recent social and political events relevant to our society as a whole, including ourselves. So let me begin. Now, since we are talking about rather contemporary issues here, I thought it might be good to start out with some news headlines that I culled from today's news feed. So number one, surge in COVID-19 cases in Tokyo less than a month out from Olympics. That's worrying. Life after the 1918 flu, that's the Spanish flu pandemic, has lessons for a post-pandemic world. Inside Berkshire Manor of Henry VIII's servant who was executed after an affair with Anne Boleyn. Ruthian Shohei Ohtani crushes home run in first inning versus Yankees. Beatles fans meet the artist behind the band Sgt. Pepper's album cover. 11 arrested for allegedly trespassing to pick durians in protected area. Now, you might be thinking, these aren't important news items. I didn't see any of these in my news feed recently. And of course, you are correct, because all of these were taken from my own Google News feed within my own Gmail account. So, in fact, my news feed tells you more about me and what sort of things interest me rather than about the world around us. So I'm based in Tokyo. I have a knack for history and literature. I'm not exactly a baseball fan, but I do follow Shohei Ohtani because he's Japanese. And I like classic rock, the Beatles. I love durians, which is, I'm told, rather unusual for Japanese. But this was actually a brief example of what we call an echo chamber. So the word echo chamber itself is not a new word. It has literal and figurative meanings. The picture on the slide is an example of a literal echo chamber for the study of acoustics. But of course, we are more concerned about the metaphorical use of echo chamber here. The second definition, an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. And how does this happen? How are these echo chambers built? Well, it's very simple. You start out with a student or any user of social media. And basically, as you interact with your Facebook account or your Twitter account, you'll be doing searches, you'll be finding things, you'll be liking things, loving things, commenting on things, and looking at things for a longer period than other items. And as you do all of this activity, these social media services will be collecting all of that data about you, what you are interested in, what kind of things glue you to the screen. And as they analyze all that data, they start feeding you with similar information that they think you'll be interested in. So basically, they'll be feeding you these clickbaits or these ads that hopefully are interesting to you. So hopefully you will click on them and they can receive more targeted ad revenue or other services that they profit from. And this whole activity, as it's kind of repeated, becomes your own echo chamber. And this is a place where your personal interests reign. Just like that news feed that I showed to you, my personal news feed is full of things that indicate my own interests. And this echo chamber itself is not necessarily an evil thing, as long as you, the user, are conscious of it and that you're conscious of the fact that you're sharing such information to the services and that the information you're seeing here are basically a reflection of yourself. They're built based on your own activities and services. The problem is sometimes as the user becomes more and more immersed in this kind of self-serving, self-amplifying universe, some things that are not of personal interest to them, but perhaps of grave interest to society as a whole, things like social issues, social problems, injustices, unpleasant truths, may fail to penetrate this thick wall of the echo chamber. And they might get ignored entirely, or even when they happen to seep through those walls, they might be already warped from your own perspective of things, and you might not get to see alternative viewpoints that do not agree with your own. And as an environment for young students who are still in the process of shaping their own view of the world, this can be a kind of a risky place to be. So, as educators, what can we do? One kind of tactic or one way that kind of we reflexively think is to employ a sort of shock tactic. Drag the student out of their comfort zone, shower them with information and perspectives that counter their own, shock them with the realities of life. You're wrong. There's a totally different viewpoint out there, and force them to swallow it. However, multiple recent studies on the echo chamber effect, and this whole theory of the echo chamber itself is a controversial theory, seem to point that merely exposing people to opposing viewpoints on social media actually has the opposite effect. As you can see from this article, exposure to opposing viewpoints on social media can increase political polarization. Basically, it actually hardens people of their views sometimes. So what can we do then? It takes a more nuanced and more guided approach to really get your students to engage in different viewpoints and nudge them out of their comfort zones. And to that end, I found a very interesting article, and this is a really helpful one, on how to conduct classroom political discussions. So this requires the active help of their own peers. Students should discuss with their own peers, their fellow students. So classroom discussions, sometimes on edgy political and controversial issues, can be really, really engaging. However, there are some key takeaways that I found from this article that I think was really excellent. And one of them was the teacher needs to do a lot of preparation and guidance. Teachers sometimes assume that classroom discussions don't require much preparation up front because, after all, it's a discussion, just let them do it. But the opposite is true. Good discussions have lots of upfront preparation, including the teacher creating discussable questions, students reading something in advance, and most importantly, making sure that students are talking to each other, not the teacher. And talking to each other really here means dialogue, not alternate monologue, which sometimes happens in debate classes, but actually listening to the other side and digesting what they say. And to that point, another person in the article says, in debate, debaters must be prepared to argue both sides of an issue in order to win. So say you are doing a debate on abortion and your personal beliefs are like pro-life. You're against abortion. But within the debate class, you actually have to learn the other viewpoint and have to be able to argue effectively the other viewpoint, which is anti-abortion, pro-choice, in order to really do a deep, convincing argument in debate. And this really requires listening skills, reading skills, understanding critical thinking skills, and perhaps most importantly, empathy. And all of this requires a lot of preparation of the teacher and the students. And it is in this preparation and in the actual carrying out of these activities that I feel that our library databases, such as the ones that we publish at Gale, can be of some help. For instance, at Gale, we have a whole suite of student-oriented resources called Gale in Context. And this is a really great resource that provides an excellent hunting ground for students and teachers alike for various types of material on contemporary and social issues, essays, opinions, news and magazine articles, reference work, statistics, images, and videos. But what distinguishes it most is how all of this information is organized and presented and packaged to the user. So Gale in Context, while nominally it is a database, it's a little bit different from your typical database structure because it employs a website-like thematic portal structure. And it's designed more for browsing and exploring rather than simply searching, typing a keyword and retrieving a long list of things that you have to comb through. And the greatest feature is called what we call a topic page within each product. So this is a product called Opposing Viewpoints, and it has many hundreds of actually topic pages like these. And this is a topic page on quarantine and isolation measures. And it contains various types of content which are segregated in individual content buckets. And we only show them the top 3 items of any individual bucket, which they can click on to view the entire list. And what this does is it makes them conscious that there are many different types of material here. There are reference articles, news articles, academic journals, viewpoint essays, and all of these have different purposes or written for different audiences. So they need to really distinguish the differences and be conscious of them. So that's the great thing about how these pages are organized. And within these pages, students can really engage with multiple documents written from many different perspectives for deeper understanding. And these are what we call the various viewpoint essays. And the great thing is these are real life essays written by real people. So these are real things. These are not watered down or sanitized sample arguments that you might find written by freelance writers and the like. These are real people actually making real arguments. However, they are always prefaced by an editorial commentary, which you can see in that light blue area here, giving a brief introduction as to the context of the issue and the writer and the argument, along with things like questions to ponder as you read along and key points. So the student is guided in a way in reading the article. And apart from these rather polarizing viewpoints, we also offer various other things like neutral reference articles, high-level academic studies, interactive statistics, images, and videos. And all of this kind of encourages students to tackle an issue from multiple perspectives and brings a really rich, multi-layered context in which they can really discuss things in depth. And we also have excellent annotation and collaboration tools. You can highlight any part of the text in any color you like and add annotations, send it to your Google Doc and share it with your peers. And one really creative way that one of our customers did use this feature, and this is from a high school in California where they employed this in a 10th grade English course called Freedom and Change in America. They actually made students to select 6 different contemporary articles from Gale in Context from one of the specified topic pages. And each student, while reading the article, would divide that article into chunks. And they are made to highlight the 3 most important words within each chunk of the article. And after they highlighted those 3 words, then they have to use those 3 words to paraphrase what each chunk was about. And this was really an effective way to get the students to really read and understand and demonstrate that they understood the article. And it was also a really great way to engage students like ESL students who may have difficulties reading English in many ways. So that's a really great example, I hope. And another effective way to engage students, and this is a totally different angle, is to use their curiosity about things that are new, curiosity about the unknown, and in short, their curiosity about science. And this is another really interesting article that I found in Yale News, which said that a Yale-led research team found that people who are curious about science, and curious is the key word here, it's not just about being knowledgeable in science, but really curious about science, are less polarized in their views on contentious issues than less curious peers. And they found that people who are more willing to engage with surprising information that runs counter to their political predispositions are generally more flexible about changing their views. And we also have a database for that, which is National Geographic Virtual Library. And this is a great partnership with the National Geographic Society that we have developed this database. And as you all know, National Geographic Society has been doing just that, arousing people's curiosity about unknown horizons, about unknown places, geographical and scientific, for more than 130 years. So take that COVID quarantine example, say that's your debate topic or classroom topic. You can say, guide your students to a particular feature article in the February issue of National Geographic, Mysteries of a Virus. And within that article, you can find some interesting things because, you know, in our current world, the word virus is a really much maligned word, and that's understandably so, but students might be surprised to learn that practically all biological life is indebted to the existence of viruses. There's viral DNA nestled among the genes of us and terrestrial animals that actually helps package and store memories. So the mere act of remembering something was not possible without the existence of these viral strains that somehow got into our DNA many, many years ago. Or, of course, National Geographic is also great at bringing global perspectives to any issue. And another example would be the Fight for Clean Air issue from April, where you can find some sobering information like worldwide particle pollution accounted for 15% of COVID-19 deaths, but in badly polluted countries in East Asia, it was 27%. And with COVID, deaths happen right away. It's bad, but you know, it happens right away. But with air pollution, it just adds on over time. It's a pandemic in slow motion. And that's really a sobering fact and gives you a totally different perspective from which to look at this ongoing pandemic that we're now surrounded by. So In conclusion, what can teachers do to help burst the students' echo chamber? As we have seen, shock tactics don't work. Simply exposing students to opposing viewpoints is not enough. They need to have guided close reading, and they need training on arguing and understanding, digesting opponents' views. And teachers also need to prepare things like preparatory reading, assignments, setting the scopes and rules of the argument without being overtly prescriptive about what's being discussed. And content from multiple viewpoints in multiple levels, formats, and media can really help broaden viewpoints. And finally, scientific discoveries and global viewpoints can really help uncover hidden biases and offer fresh points of view. And hopefully, having done all of this, the student would have discovered and burst out of their echo chambers to the end of the tunnel and find this brave new world with all of its contradictions and challenges fascinating to them, and they would be able to embrace it in a whole new way. So thank you very much.